I tripled the supplement brand subscription profit with this piece of paper, adding well over $1 million in profit, and all of it from recurring sales that allowed them to stack the supplement subscriptions and finally scale their local supplement brand internationally. And as you may guess, what made it work is the words on the actual page, meaning copywriting. But chances are you've never seen anything like it, because the copy on this page has nothing to do with sales pages, ads, outreach, content, or emails. It's what the old school copywriters used to call a stick letter, and it's one of the secret weapons I share with my consulting clients, especially supplement brands, because it works. Like for this client, where adding just one letter as a package insert reduced churn from 77 to 34% without changing anything else in the funnel. But you don't need to be copywriter to use it, because I'll give you the exact 7-figure letter completely for free. And to make it even better, this format is becoming more and more effective, and you'll see why in just a minute. But almost nobody's using it. So it might just be the unfair advantage that finally makes the numbers work in your favor and allows you to scale your marketing campaigns. So here's what we'll cover in this video. First, I'll prove that reducing churn or improving retention is the most profitable way you can spend your money. Then I'll give you a calculator that you can use to test your business and see the potential gains from reducing churn for yourself. Then I'll share the actual 7-figure letter. Next, I'll explain the exact emotional triggers and psychology that made the letter work so you can repeat them. And finally, I'll give you my completely free retention booster cheat sheet, complete with a checklist, workbook, templates, examples, strategies, and all of that to make it work for almost any business. So you can put it to use and make a whole lot more money. Right, so a little bit of a background. I'm Jake. I'm a full-time copywriter and consultant. My writing has now sold well over 21 million's worth of stuff online. 21 is just a number that I could track because I get royalties, but it's much higher. Mostly health and supplement niche, but others too. While I'm not buying Bugattis and Lambos yet, writing copy and applying the marketing principles pays well enough to create a life worth living, right? So I've kind of put together a little collage that I just grabbed today. I've managed to travel the world, make decent enough money, have a family, and it's going pretty well, right? So I'm making these videos to share what I've learned with you and hopefully help you as well. So the main point of the video that I'd like you to take away from it is that retention is the most reliable way to make more profit. And with my letter and templates, it's also a lot less of an effort than scaling a new campaign. But some of you might be thinking, okay, well, retention is cool, but we all know that sales are the real key to growth. But as you'll see, if you get to keep all the customers you sell, you need to sell far fewer customers and you make more money. Or maybe you are in a certain industry and nobody else in your industry cares about retention or is doing it, right? So you might be wondering, will it even work for you? So unless you run one of those little tourist shops in all the tourist destinations where they only expect one sale ever, it's not you, right? Everybody that runs a serious business expects and hopes that their customers would return. Almost everybody would return for another appointment. Maybe not if you're a mortician or, gravedigger. Otherwise, everybody else does. And a Harvard study found that just a 5% bump in retention gets you 25 to 95% increase in profit, not revenue, profit. And the reverse is also true. Buying a new customer or acquiring a new customer costs 5 to 25 times more than retaining an existing one. All that to say, right, the study is right down here. All that to say is that retention is essential to your business. Obviously, you should have, a sales department, advertising campaigns, all of that good stuff, email campaigns. But having said that, if you made more, especially multiple times more per customer, your business would make a lot more money, right? Even with the same amount of leads and customers you currently have, right? But what we have here is a fancy calculator that I've made that kind of lets you play with it and, see it for yourself. Now, this specific calculator, I'll actually include with the letter and the worksheets and cheat sheets and templates and everything at the end. But I guess for now, we can just kind of check it out. I've got it open right here. So imagine you have one customer. You can obviously change this number later yourself to see numbers or create numbers that are more realistic for your business. Imagine you have one customer and the revenue per customer you get is $100, right? Just 100 units. And churn is 50%. That means that in month 1, you get one customer. Month 2, you still have that one customer. Month 3, you don't have them anymore. So revenue would drop. Technically, you'd only have, if it's one customer, 150, because third month, you get nothing. Math-wise, it works out as $200. But if you just reduce churn by 10% to 40, what you instantly can see is that lifetime value goes up by 25%, not 10%, right? So it already scales 2.5 times. Obviously, that's revenue, but sometimes revenue, like 2.5 times of revenue on the second purchase, might mean a whole lot more profit, as you'll see in my client's case. This is the case study client that we're looking at here, because for this client, the first purchase was a reduced it's not a free trial, but a reduced trial. So they actually lost money on the first supplement round. The shipping plus cost of goods together gave them a negative $9 of profit. And also the second shipment is 3 months all at once. So with 77% churn, on month 1, they've lost $9. And then on month 2, they've gained 21. It's not like terrible, but still, it slows down your money a lot. Obviously, then on month 6 or 7, you'd get even more money, but you're hoping that that customer doesn't cancel. But then by just reducing the churn to 34%, on month 2, we get $60 of profit, right? Because more customers stick around and more customers then buy that triple pack. So 3 times higher. And obviously this kind of keeps going, but just for the simplicity of this video and example, I've left just 2 of these shipments. So how do you actually achieve that? How do you write this stick letter that I mentioned in the intro, and how do you reduce your churn? So the stick letters is just the easiest way to do it. You don't have to change anything else about your funnel, and you can just send it out to your customers with every shipment, like the first shipment, first contact they have with your business, they would get this letter in. And they come in various forms. I've only seen a few that are done even marginally well, and those companies perform great. So one example that I have here right now is this company that I looked at ages ago when I was deep into fitness. It's called Keto Source. And the letter is okay. It's not great, but you can kind of see the principles, right? They have a lot of graphics. They do cover some of the fundamentals, like the actual levers that are going to make the biggest impact that we'll cover in a second, but they're not as intentional about it as they could be. But this is what it could look like if you were a little lazy and didn't want to put too much thought into it. You can see they talk a lot about themselves. But again, this letter worked well for them. This company is still around. They're making good money in a very competitive market. So before I give you my actual letter, I want to give you a way to evaluate and test your own letters and then this letter. So we have 2 things here. First, we have the actual levers that we can pull. So these are going to be the emotional drivers, the motivators that are going to influence the customer and make them stay. And then number 2 is the outcomes that we're after. Here we can kind of judge how effective it is, right? So 3 keys, 2 outcomes. So we'll start off with the keys. Key number 1 is emotional recall. What I discovered on my research, and if you sell supplements, you'll probably find it's the same thing. I had a 30-something, 40 even page supplement, like the letter, the sales letter, selling this supplement, and I have all kinds of proof and stories and videos, and it's just like singing, dancing, very effective page. But since they get this supplement 9 days later, 7 to 9, they've forgotten all about it. They know that they bought a supplement, they're maybe even expecting it in the mail, but the exact claims, they don't remember those. So if they get the supplement and they don't remember what it's supposed to be like, feel like, what they're expecting, they know it's for joint pain, like in this case, and they take the supplement, and then the day after, or even a week after, the joints still aren't pain-free, they'll cancel. They'll be like, it was a scam, right? So obviously with supplements, very often you have to give it some time. So that's what you have to explain in it. And you also have to kind of resell them on the mechanism, make them understand that they are making the right decision. Then the next thing is future pacing, right? As the old sort of wisdom goes, you can't make somebody do something that they haven't imagined themselves doing first. So you have to make them see themselves take the action, and then it's a lot easier to sort of persuade them to actually take the action. So that's what we're doing in future pacing, and you will see a lot of that. I'll kind of highlight the page because I do a lot of it. And then finally is what I call greasing the slide. Every product has annoying qualities or things that are objectionable that your customers might not like, and they might cancel the product for it. For this supplement, it's the fact that it would take, a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months to really start working, to kind of crush the inflammation, reduce the joint pain. Every product has them, right? Maybe it's noisy, maybe it heats up. You can't hide from it. If you hide from it, it just sort of gets worse. This, let's say, is another one of those opportunities where, especially if you're on a subscription or expecting a return sale, you can help the customer figure out a way around it so it's less annoying, and also, maybe even reverse it. And then finally, what we have is the outcomes. There's two things we're really looking for, but we can't go at them directly, right? That's why I kind of put these sort of arrows around, trying to be metaphorical. But by pulling on these three levers, we're trying to get at these two outcomes. So outcome number one is anchoring the decision and the result, right? So the customer has made a decision to purchase your product. So in the letter, what we're trying to make them see is that it was a good decision. And as part of that initial great decision, they're now going to take the supplement and keep taking the supplement and end up at a place where they have no more joint pain, or whatever the outcome it is for your product. We're kind of just making them understand that this whole process, from the moment they made the decision to the moment when they get their desire, is correct. Like, there's no issues, right? And so we're kind of making them see that, or helping them see that, or hoping they would. And then the last one is build trust. And all of that by adding one letter in the package. So the answer is yes. So let's go and do a quick analysis. I'm going to bring out my little pen here. So I'm going to read out the letter, and then I will highlight the elements as I see them, so you can kind of see how much of that stuff is crammed in this letter. The secret to a happy life. Hi, name. So, by the way, a little side point already. If you can figure out a way to add the name, that would be great. And I'll show you at the end how you can do it, even for signed letters. But if you can't, just start off at, here's the secret. Here's the secret that many people choose to ignore. Your joints are the key to rich, social, and happy life. And so this is what they want. And I'm starting to already make the connection. It might sound like just another TV commercial, and yet, think of this. If walking to the shop felt like walking on hot coals because of the searing pain in your ankles or hips, would you feel isolated? Again, anchoring that emotional recall, right? Because this was in the sales letter, I covered these points, so now I'm trying to bring them back. If you couldn't open a jar of coffee without crippling pain in your fingers or wrists, would you feel powerless? If you weren't able to hug your child or grandchild because crouching sends a world of pain through your knees, would you feel lonely? You see, the point I'm making is movement is life. If you can't move, then it can feel like being imprisoned in your own body. And I don't want that for you. And that is why I'm so excited that you're reading this letter. It means that you have taken the first step to living a rich, full, and fulfilling life. And Joint Supplement X is that first step, right? So that second point I said, anchoring the decision and the result, and future pacing right here. That's what I'm trying to do here, where it says you've taken the first step to living a full, rich, and fulfilling life. That's future pacing. And then we're also making them feel like they've made the right decision. So congratulations. Here comes the fun part. This joint supplement is a powerful natural formula that has no scientifically observed side effects. And from the moment you take your first dose, your life will begin to change. Again, future pacing it. Here's what you can expect. As the formula first begins to work, you may begin to notice a certain lightness in your steps, a kind of flexibility that you thought was lost. You may not be able to put your finger on it, but you'll know it when you'll get it, right? So this is a little bit of NLP there. We're using sensory language. When you're giving people these future pacing type statements, when you're trying to make somebody imagine it, you got to be very descriptive. And if they're going to be, sitting there with their eyes closed, or at least painting a picture in their mind, you have to give them this kind of language that they can actually sort of feel and grasp. Otherwise, it's not going to be very emotional for them. And so if it's not emotional, it's not going to leave an impact. A few weeks after that, your joints may feel like they have aged backwards. This is actually customer language that I've collected. Now, here I say a few weeks, where their cancellation period for the sort of half-price trial is 14 days. So I'm already trying to future pace it past the moment where they could cancel or where they would want to cancel. And by week 5, same thing here. You may even realize that the pain that used to always be in your mind now feels like a distant, bad memory. However, it will be somewhere around week 8 that you will feel the full effects of this inflammation and joint pain super formula. And from here, it gets really exciting. Now, this is a little side point here. When you are writing letters like these, to be honest, anything to do with paper, always end on a cliffhanger, right? If your page has 2 sides and it ends neatly, sort of with a whole paragraph, people will stop reading, right? No one's going to pick up your sales letter or your letter afterwards, right? Because they know it's about the product. So you want to always leave it on a cliffhanger, like here, or now comes the fun part, make them kind of want to turn it over. From here on, you may feel like you've got a second chance at life. And these are not our words, but our customers. Many say that the longer they take the joint supplement, the better it will feel. Every day, I get messages from our customers like these. And so here, I have 3 very, very specific social proofs. And when I wrote it, I made sure that the social proof and the claims I'm making higher in the letter match the social proof, so that everything I'm saying here is paraphrased, right? These 3 points here are paraphrased in the social proofs. Or if not these 3 things, then all the other claims. So it feels kind of cohesive. It feels integrated. And that's how you get the trust, right? So every claim that I've made, it's kind of proven by the social bits. And then this part serves double duty. On one side, it invites them to communicate with you. It gives you the opportunity to then talk to the customer if there's an issue, so your customer support can, fix it. It also makes the customer feel more secure because they know exactly, how to get a hold of you, how to message you, so they feel like you care. And it's very important that you're not hiding. And finally, another thing it does, because there's an email that customers supposedly can and do send emails to, it makes the testimonials seem a lot more real, right? Because I said every day I get messages from our customers like these, and it is I get messages. And this email should be from the person, right? So the same name should appear there. Again, builds trust. So remember, it may take a little while for the full effects to show up, but they inevitably do. So this is that greasing the slide part I was mentioning, because it will take a while for them to see the full effects, so they just should wait. And I'm making that clear. Some users report instant relief, but for most, it takes a little longer. Everyone is different, so I encourage you to discover how long it takes you. So here we are actually challenging the customer, which works great for things like that, because we all like a challenge, right? And then mark that day in the calendar. Again, I'm future pacing it. I'm making them imagine not only that it's going to happen, but it will definitely happen, and they should mark a day in the calendar, right? So it's making it more and more real in all kinds of ways. And then celebrate every day after that by going out to the park to play with your grandchildren, by going for a walk or joining a yoga class, because now you can, right? So this is all in the future, right? This is fully in the future. This is the path you're on now. So keep going. I'll end with a warm welcome from the brand family, and cheers to happier, healthier you. And finally, this is the part that's going to either make or break this letter. Right? You got the letter now. I see so many people that have ever tried these types of things mess it up right here. They would have the signature printed, which cheapens the letter immensely. And like I said in the intro, the reason this stuff works even better now is because everything is digital and automated and AI and fake, and there's no more humans, there's no humanity left in anything. So if you take this letter and you hand sign it with a real pen, none of that blue ink, printed stuff, with a real pen so the person can see depressions, because people can tell. it will add massive value to your letter, because somebody, even if it's not much, the person reading it, your customer, will look at it and go like, this is real. Like a real person has touched it. It will make them trust you more, and it will have a much bigger impact. Now, here's the sort of way around it that I figured out for this client, how you can also have mass sign these letters is we still hired an assistant, right? Somebody who would imitate the CEO's signature. We signed off as the CEO, and we also had one of the CEO's emails up there. And because we know exactly where the signature is going to land once the letter is printed, we just got the assistant to kind of sign the templated area. And so they would just sign all the letters on one side and then stack them the right way up. And when we printed them, it would print out and the signature would be right there on the page. So we could still mass produce authenticity, but the signature completely makes it work. Right, so finally, what was the difference with just this one letter for this client? Well, obviously increased retention, right? Like I said, from 77% churn, we went to 34% or 66% retention. But what that allowed us to do is to triple the profit, right? Like you saw in the LTV calculator. And what that allowed us to do is to go scale from a small company in Norway first to all the Nordics, then to Europe, and finally to United States. And it grew the company from 5 people running on hope to 50 people with secure mortgages. Obviously, I wrote a whole bunch of other copywriting stuff, right? Like sales letters and all kinds of stuff. But this was one of the breakthroughs that finally, kind of got the campaign math to work much better. So if you think about it, right, how difficult would it be for you to increase your business retention by just 10%? And probably not that hard. Even if you just do half of this letter, you will see a bump. And as you'll remember from the previous example, 10% increase in revenue gives you a 25% increase in lifetime value, which might be multiple times your profit, because your profit is far less than your revenue. So the increase might be entirely profit. And I bet you can already imagine what you do with all that extra money. You could be just one simple letter or message or action away from achieving that. So I've prepared a completely free 7-figure retention booster pack. So there's 2 ways to get it. You either go to swiy.co/churn, or you can scan the QR code here. And inside of that retention booster pack, you will get the full 7-figure letter. I'll also have prepared the tests that I would do next, right? So more rationale, more psychology. I also prepared universal templates that will work for most subscription and physical product businesses. And then I've also prepared a retention cheat sheet / worksheet where I'll have, the checklists and all the other stuff that you can use to create your own retention anything. It could be an email, could be a message, could be a letter exactly like this. So to kind of give you a quick preview, I was going to include this in the video, but then the video would be like way too long. So I've just given it to you in a external document. So this is what it looks like. On the inside, you'll have multiple tabs. Improvements side. Then you have your swipeable templates, suggestions by different industries, checklists, step-by-step guide to figuring out what you need to do next, and all the little rules. So if you think that extra profit would be valuable for your business, don't hesitate, grab this 7-figure retention booster pack. Remember, it's completely for free. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.